All right.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeanette Schliega with VGA, and I'm here with my dear friend, Sunny Morton. Hello, Sunny.
Hi, Jeanette.
She has graciously offered to do a quick interview for everyone to get to know her and things like that. If you don't already know her, as she is one of our speakers coming up for our 4th annual VGA conference. So, Sunny, I know that you do a lot with genealogy for your job. Do you ever get a chance to play on your own tree?
Every once in a while when I treat myself, I actually I did a binge this weekend. So that was fun. Late night with the time change, I got an extra hour, right? So I was awake at 5 o'clock this morning, trying to go back to sleep. And I was like, oh, I could do genealogy. So because I started down this rabbit hole last night and it was super exciting. I was looking for something on Genealogy Bank because I'm doing a lot of newspaper research right now.
Okay.
Totally fun. So I was on Genealogy Bank and I was looking for somebody that's just like a longtime person of interest on my tree, just to see what does Genealogy Bank know that I don't already know.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up that my guy attended a 50th wedding anniversary party for another guy in the same town with the same last name, but it's a common last name. It's Armstrong.
Okay.
So that's maybe interesting. But I started looking at it. I'm like, well, okay, so the person whose wedding anniversary he attended was named William. And he doesn't have a son named William. Why would he go? I'm guessing maybe they're a cousin, something like that. And then I realized that I had him dangling. So my guy was John, and he was an immigrant from England to the United States. But he left his family behind decades ago, and they were sort of dangling from the 1871 census. I knew who his siblings were, and they were just sort of left there because I was mostly interested in his life in the United States,
Sure.
Where he intersected with my people. But then I realized he had a brother, William, of about the right age.
Mm-hmm.
And this, at the end of the article, it said that this William and his wife immigrated from England and followed the same migratory path as my guy. And suddenly I am all over this. And so like this is the binge. And then I'm like, well, and who's this attending? And who's this attending? I found 2 other sisters of his who immigrated as well. One of them that ended up in Ottawa and one that ended up right there in the same town with him, that were attending these family parties that were all in the newspapers over the course of several years at Genealogy Bank. So I'm like going through these guest lists for his like 80th birthday party, his 85th birthday party, his 50th anniversary. Like every year he seems to have this big party and he invites everyone who's still alive. And I'm like, oh, please live so I can see where you are. And it was so fun to just reconstruct this entire family group of siblings who had all emigrated from England to the United States and Canada that I had no idea.
And where was this, where the parties were happening? Where did they end up?
They ended up in Lorain, Ohio, which is funny because that's only about 45 minutes from where I live today. So, but I had no idea.
And at what time frame?
So they emigrated starting in the around 1889, 1890s.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of them, it looks like, although my guy came a little bit earlier, and he intersected with my relative at ground zero, the Johnstown flood in 1889. That's how they met, is in the aftermath of the flood. But then like this William brother, it said, oh, he emigrated to Johnstown, Pennsylvania the year after the flood. And I'm like, huh. Right. And then these sisters and stuff like that. So that's the time period, as I'm looking at late 1800s, early 1900s. And you'd think, well, there's tons of stuff about them, but with the loss of the 1890 census and they're immigrants, so they didn't produce birth records in the United States and those kinds of things. They did produce some birth records back in England, in their civil registration and things, but they didn't have them here. And so it was a little more challenging to try to put the pieces together.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And newspapers are just so much fun to research in. There has to be one of, I think, my favorite record collection completely. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your upcoming program for the conference this year. You are doing How Social Security Can Help Your Family History Research. Now, I had the privilege of watching this already since your session is pre-recorded, and I already know it's going to be one I need to watch again and then like pause your slides because you shared so much information that I'm like, wait, I need to hear that again. I need to write it down. I need to go practice that, like it was awesome. So can you you tell everyone
Sure.
what your program's about?
And that's a good reason for pre-recording. It means that you can stop and go try things, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I love this Social Security topic because it's right this time frame, that I'm talking about, these late 1800s, early 1900s. And you think, well, Sunny, Social Security didn't get started until the late 1930s. Get your timeline straight. Yeah, but the people who started signing up for Social Security documentation in the late 1930s, early 1940s, and from there out were already of age to be working. And some of them signed up only because they were close to pension age. So we're talking about a much older generation than you may typically think as of coming of age during the Social Security generation. So we're talking about anyone who was in the workforce or who would have applied as a beneficiary. So a minor or a spouse. So they wouldn't have had to be in the workforce. They could have, but maybe they weren't. So that it generated records for millions and millions of Americans because they wanted to claim these pension rewards and unemployment benefits and all kinds of things that went with Social Security. So there's layers and layers of different kinds of documentation. And that's what I walk you through in the class is, okay, you've probably seen this one. You may not have seen this one. Did you know that this one is searchable for free over here? And here's how to do it. Even though it's kind of clunky, it's free. So there's lots that you can go look for in Social Security.
And what's fascinating too is my great grandmother applied, and it's one of the records that I have where she names her parents because she immigrated from, well, it was Austria, then Poland and Ukraine, like it switched a lot during World War I. And she had not yet applied for citizenship in the United States. So she was still an alien. And, to have a record in her own hand, like saying from the primary information, who her parents were and what her birth date was and everything like that. Like, I just love it. Was so worth the, $29 or $27, whatever I paid for it.
Right. Well, I think the prices keep changing and I think they dropped recently and that's unusual. I know prices just go up, right? But the last time I checked, prices were a little lower than that, what you just said. So like, that's even better, but you might not even have to order the original unless you do. Sometimes you do want that original SS5 for reasons that I'll talk about in the presentation, but sometimes you just want to see their signature.
Yeah.
Like if it's someone you really care about, right? Yeah. Or just someone that's been so elusive, they came out of an enslaved generation or family, they came out of an immigrant family where there's just not a big paper trail in the United States, or they didn't leave a lot of English speaking records for whatever reason, their English literacy, or property ownership wasn't there or whatever it was. We just have these elusive people that we come to. I don't know if we love them more because we can't find them or they annoy us more. Like, I don't know what it is, but sometimes maybe it's a love-hate thing. But there are some people that we really want those original SS5 applications for. And so I'll walk you through what's in them or what are the substitutes to go find the kinds of information that might be in those Social Security records.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know everyone's going to love it. Thank you, Sunny.
Sure.